Stop. Don't scroll. You didn't arrive here by accident. You arrived here because something in your morning today asked for a word that hasn't been spoken yet, and this word is about to be spoken. If you have been waking up exhausted before the day even begins, blinking against a blinding sudden light of confusion, feeling like you fought a grueling battle in your sleep, this is the exact moment that heavy veil drops. God has prepared a specific revelation for you today, and the truth can no longer be hidden from you. The truth you have been desperately waiting for is not a future event. It is an uncovering happening right now. The space between the deep confusion you are experiencing and the profound clarity you are about to receive is exactly where the adversary has been operating, hiding what God has already decreed for you. I know exactly what you are feeling when you open your eyes in the morning. It is a physical exhaustion, waking up tired as if your soul was on high alert all night, your eyes heavy before the day even starts. And this invisible weight doesn't stay in your bedroom. It follows you into your daily choices. You find yourself staring blankly at a decision that desperately needs to be made, paralyzed by a severe hesitation. You are constantly second-guessing every step, trapped in a pattern of error where you keep circling the exact same mountain because you cannot see the path out, wondering if you are hearing God's will or just your own anxious mind. But the most painful layer is what happens when you arrive home. You walk through the front door and the atmosphere immediately thickens with unspoken words. You sit down to eat, but there is a heavy, unspoken silence at the family dinner table, an invisible wall of misunderstanding sitting between you and the people you love. Simple conversations quickly turn into barriers, and you are left with a deep, exhausting sense of spiritual blindness, feeling entirely disconnected from God's voice and direction. In the next few minutes, I will show you three things. First, I will describe exactly where you have truly been over the last few months, in a way that will finally make this silence make sense. Second, I will deliver 3 words in Hebrew directly into your spirit that no one has taught you. And when you hear the last of them, you will understand exactly why you arrived here today. Third, I will seal 3 names of identity over your life. If you leave before the end, you leave without the sealing. And there's a 4th thing I'll be placing in your hands before this message ends. Something that Solomon left recorded for the child of God who needs to cross this season of sudden blindness, and that fits into a busy morning before you leave the house. It's not a book to study. It's an instrument to sustain the weight of this endless hesitation. I'll come back to it. For now, stay. Because the truth about this thick fog you are walking through is much like a seed planted in the dead of winter. It feels dark, cold, and heavy, and the adversary wants you to believe you have been buried and forgotten in the soil. But underneath that frozen ground, a deep root is breaking through. God is about to show you that you are not buried. You are planted for an imminent awakening. Before I deliver this word to you, I need you to understand something. And regarding exactly this, regarding the exhaustion that hits you before the day even begins, regarding the hesitation when staring blankly at a decision, regarding that sudden silence at the family dinner table, there is something that Solomon left recorded, a 2-minute key that fits into your daily routine, and that I will show you further ahead. Tuck it away in the back of your mind. And if you need to leave before the end of this video, this instrument is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment right below here. But I ask you to stay until the end, because without the context that is coming right now, the key won't work with the same force in your hand. Have you ever felt that this heavy veil of confusion is not just human, but spiritual? And if this pattern of endless hesitation is a sign that there is a battle against the purpose God placed upon your life? While many try to explain this as just stress or burnout, few realize that the spirit of obscuration doesn't attack based on what you have or did, but based on what God is building upon you. But what if the real reason for this sudden blindness is exactly tied to what you haven't been able to see about your own life? Now think with me. What if everything you have gone through until today, waking up exhausted before the day begins, the constant second-guessing of your choices, the unspoken tension sitting inside your home, is the answer to that question you've been carrying for years? Lord, what is the truth about my life? It was while seeking answers to this that I found this digital guide called The Code of Solomon's Wisdom. This guide is not just a reading, it's a key of spiritual understanding, a tool made for those who wish to see beyond appearances and to stop treating this spiritual blindness as just a passing phase, and to understand why the hidden enemy attacks with such force against those who carry a mark of God. Several chosen ones here on the channel have already felt the calling of this hidden compass, but still haven't made the decision to download the digital guide. Download it right now. It's available in the first pinned comment. If you're one of the first to download it, come back here and write Amen. That will be your act of faith, and today itself God may show you the reason why the quiet, relentless erosion of your confidence in hearing God's voice rose up against your life. Before I give you the word, I need you to recognize 5 things that are happening to you right now. I am not here to blindly predict your future. I am here to describe exactly the weight you are currently carrying in the present. Listen very carefully to each one of these, because if I am right about at least 3 of them, you and I are both going to know exactly why you stopped here today. The first is the sign of the heavy eyelids. You wake up physically exhausted, blinking against a blinding sudden light, as if you fought a grueling battle in your sleep. Your eyes feel incredibly heavy before the day even begins, and your spiritual vision feels blurry and completely out of focus. What seems like mere physical fatigue is actually a spiritual weight, a thick fog designed to keep you disoriented. Like a seed buried deep in the frozen ground of winter, you feel buried under this exhaustion. But I break the spirit of slumber over your spiritual eyes right now. If you ignore this heavy veil, the fog will only grow thicker, blinding you to the dawn that is about to break. The second is the sign of the paralyzed pen. You find yourself standing on the verge of making a major life decision, but an irrational fear forces you to stop. You are staring blankly at a choice that desperately needs to be made, yet you are entirely paralyzed by severe hesitation. What feels like your own anxiety is actually a targeted attack on your discernment, a hidden enemy feeding on your doubt to keep you trapped, circling the exact same mountain because you cannot see the path out. But clarity is invading your mind. Hesitation must bow down. If you do not recognize this attack, you will remain locked in this cycle of overthinking, unable to step into the path God prepared. The third is the sign of the silent table. At the end of the day, you sit down to eat at the dinner table with your loved ones, but there is a deep sense of disconnect. You're eating in silence, surrounded by an invisible, heavy wall of misunderstanding sitting right between you and the people you love the most. What looks like normal stress is a spirit of obscuration, intentionally turning simple conversations into walls, trying to isolate you in your own home. But I command the spirit of division and silence to leave your household right now. If you accept this heavy, suffocating silence as normal, the enemy will continue to slowly dismantle the peace within your family. And regarding that sudden silence at the dinner table that you recognized just now, I've already left the instrument waiting for you in the first pinned comment. If you need to leave before the end, it's there, but stay, because the Hebrew name of what's happening to you hasn't been said yet. And before I move on to the 4th and 5th sign, a brief pause, and beyond our digital book, Chosen One, you have here another way to strengthen this message that reached your home today, and to make it reach more and more chosen ones like you. We don't receive a single cent for every word I deliver to you here on this channel every day. As a way for you to give back something of what you receive here, we keep a voluntary donation link open right below the digital book in the first pinned comment. Any amount that fits your hand today, any sum your heart points to. That's what keeps our channel standing. That's what makes the next message reach another person who needs it, exactly as you needed it. I'll wait for you there, chosen one. Returning now to the 4th sign. The 4th is the sign of the echoing room. You enter your most intimate space to pray, and it feels like your words simply hit the ceiling and bounce right back to you. There is a quiet, terrifying fear settling in your chest that you are simply not spiritual enough to hear God clearly anymore. What feels like God pulling away is actually the adversary building a heavy barrier around your prayers, turning your spiritual hunger into spiritual starvation. But the heavens are opening over your voice right now, shattering that ceiling. If you do not push through this echoing silence, the enemy will convince you that your calling has been completely revoked and your voice is no longer heard. The fifth is the sign of the stolen joy. The very things that used to bring you deep peace and contentment now only bring you an overwhelming sense of anxiety. You feel like a stranger in your own life, robbed of the joy that used to define your identity as a child of God. What feels like a permanent shift in your personality is actually an organized assault on your core identity, attempting to strip you of your spiritual confidence in this exact season. But the joy of your salvation is returning to its rightful place today. If you allow this joy to remain stolen, you will live out the rest of your days as a captive in a land you were meant to rule. These 5 signs that you have just recognized are not symptoms of a spiritual collapse. They are undeniable signs of a profound awakening. The adversary only attacks with this level of ferocity what is about to bear fruit. And the name of what is desperately trying to awaken inside of you is hidden within a single Hebrew word, a word that holds the exact key to breaking this spiritual blindness once and for all. Before I show you the instrument that Solomon left behind for the common day, I need to give you the Hebrew name of what you carry, because the instrument only makes sense after you finally know the name. There is a word in the original Hebrew that changes everything you thought you knew, and it completely recontextualizes every single sign you just recognized in the last few minutes. And what comes next will explain to you exactly why everything happened in this order. And to carry this heavy veil alone for another night, waking up to that blinding confusion every single morning, is not what Solomon prepared for you. He prepared something else, and this other thing is what I am going to deliver to you right now. It is not a theory, it is an instrument. The Code of Solomon's Wisdom is the instrument that Solomon left behind for the child of God, who needs to cross the common day without losing what they received in intimacy. When you wake up physically exhausted, feeling as if you fought a grueling, invisible battle in your sleep, with your eyes heavy before the day even begins, you need to shatter the thick fog. When you keep circling the exact same mountain because you simply cannot see the path out, entirely paralyzed by a severe hesitation in your decisions, you need to shatter the thick fog. When you walk through the front door and the atmosphere immediately thickens with unspoken words, creating a heavy, suffocating silence at the family dinner table, you need to shatter the thick fog. And if you're feeling right now that this is exactly what you need, before I even continue, place your thumb now over the link in the first pinned comment. Don't click yet. Just place your thumb. Feel the weight of the decision before you make the decision. This is the sudden, sharp click of a key turning in a rusted lock. It is not a method to do more. It is an instrument to sustain more. It does not train you. It covers you. It shows you exactly where the spirit of obscuration is operating before it turns into your next wrong choice. It interrupts the cycle of this thick fog before it turns into your next morning before you leave the house. And that busy morning before you leave the house arrives sooner than it seems, and it comes with 2 seals for your home, not for your performance. The first seal is the ritual of the righteous sleep. It's an audio. You don't read it. You lie down. And what you used to call insomnia, today you'll call unsealed vigil, and you'll learn to seal the night with the right name, in the right order, in the right voice. The second seal is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 7 short phrases, 1 for each morning of the week, so you don't wake up again without identity, so you cross the first hour of the day with the posture of one who has been sent, and not with the posture of one who has been run over. And this severe hesitation that you are feeling right now is not doubt. It is the thick fog operating inside of you at this exact moment, pushing you to close this window and walk away. You recognize this pattern. It is time to pray and the unnatural sleepiness arrives. It is time to decide and the irrational fear takes over. The hesitation you feel now is the absolute confirmation that you are standing exactly at the threshold where the turning point happens. And that is exactly why this next part exists. You have 7 full days to use it and feel it. 7 full days. If in 7 days the instrument has not touched what needs to be touched inside of you, you return it. No questions asked, no justification needed. And the 2 seals, the ritual and the decrees, remain with you even if you return it. They are yours unconditionally. But I need to be direct with you. The real risk is not spending less than a Thursday lunch at the deli. The real risk is the next busy morning before you leave the house arriving and you still standing there with empty hands. That is the risk that has a face. And it is about that face that I need to speak with you right now. And perhaps you are asking yourself right now some questions that deserve an answer before we move forward. What if the price of staying in the dark is far higher than the courage it takes to step into the light? How much longer will you allow confusion to dictate the atmosphere in your home? Are you willing to let another year pass waiting for a sign when the key has already been handed to you? And even so, if you only want the guide, it is already enough. But the complete house is built with all three. A 39-year-old woman working long shifts as a nurse started using the guide after months of waking up physically exhausted, blinking against a blinding sudden light of confusion before the day even began. In the first week, she slept through the night and woke up with an unexplainable lightness in her chest. She wrote me a single phrase. I always thought it was just physical burnout, but it was actually spiritual starvation. A 52-year-old man, a small business owner facing a critical financial choice, had been paralyzed by severe hesitation for over a month. After applying the key for 7 days, he sat down at his desk and made the exact decision he had been terrified of, with absolute clarity. The phrase he sent, "I genuinely thought I was just being careful, but I was actually being silenced." A 28-year-old mother, feeling completely isolated in her own living room, felt that every conversation with her husband turned into a wall of misunderstanding. In the second week with the guide, the heavy, unspoken silence at the family dinner table finally broke during a simple Wednesday meal. She wrote, "I honestly thought we were just drifting apart, but it was actually an organized attack. Perhaps 3 hours from now you will be lying in bed again, blinking against that same heavy exhaustion, remembering that you watched this video and still did not reach out your hand. Perhaps on the next busy morning before you leave the house, the confusion will strike again and you will think, I knew exactly what this was. I just did not have the instrument in my hand." You watch the days turn into weeks, the confusion growing deeper, your family drifting further apart, and you realize that you've been fighting a spiritual battle with physical weapons, losing ground you didn't even know you were standing on. And the quiet, relentless erosion of your confidence in hearing God's voice keeps arriving, with the same alarm clock, with the same coffee, with the same door opening on the next busy morning before you leave the house. The link is in the first pinned comment, pinned specifically for you, not for everyone, for you. Whoever needs to cross the next busy morning before you leave the house with the code of Solomon's wisdom in their hand, clicks right now. And when you do this, when you open that link, you are not buying a book. You are accepting an instrument that Solomon prepared for your common day. And what you will understand next, when you hear the Hebrew word that is coming right now, will change the way you read everything that has happened up until this point. And before I deliver the next word that's still coming now, because it's still coming and it weighs, I want to remind you of one thing: chosen one. As I told you earlier, beyond the digital book that's in the first pinned comment, there's that voluntary donation link open, right below the book. We continue receiving not a single cent for every word I deliver here for you every day. That's why this link exists, chosen one, so that another person tomorrow finds exactly this word that found you today. Any amount your heart points to. Each gesture like that keeps our channel standing and makes the next message reach whoever needs it, exactly as it reached you today. And one more thing before we return to the message, I want you to know the following. From time to time here on our channel, I record a special honor video. A thank you video with a special word only to recognize the chosen ones who donated the most and those who acquired the digital book. All who sustained this word with me deserve that mention of gratitude for such a generous act. You sow here, heaven remembers you up there, and I remember you down here. I'll wait for you there at the link, again chosen one. And now finally the Hebrew word that will change everything. The Hebrew word that defines exactly what is happening to you right now, the word that names the suffocating weight you have been carrying in complete silence, is Bina. Say it with me right there where you are, out loud. Bina. Bina means hidden intelligence and deep discernment, but it is much more than a simple definition found in a theology book. It is the sudden, sharp ability to see the truth that the adversary has been desperately trying to keep buried under that heavy veil of confusion. It is the blinding light that shatters the thick fog of your endless hesitation. It is not just a dictionary translation that you read, nod at, and forget by tomorrow morning. It is a word that describes a permanent state, an unshakable posture, a divine calling that you have been carrying inside your spirit without even knowing how to access it. And when you hear this word today, your spirit recognizes it instantly because it was already operating deep inside of you. You simply did not have the exact name to claim the authority over it. And about this word it is written in Psalm 4, verse 8, "I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety." This is not a fragile promise of a distant future that you have to endlessly wait for. It is a firm, undeniable declaration of a present state. The only person who can say this exact sentence with a soul truly resting in peace, the only one who can close their eyes without fighting a grueling battle in their sleep, is the one who is under the covering of the name Binah. It is not meant for someone who strives to be in that state through sheer human effort, but for the one who is. When Solomon took the throne, he was not the established, untouchable king of wisdom that history remembers and reveres today. He was a young, incredibly fragile man, surrounded on all sides by hidden agendas, whispering voices, and a massive fog of uncertainty that threatened to completely crush him before his reign even truly began. He felt the immense, suffocating weight of a calling he simply did not know how to carry. He was waking up physically exhausted before the day even began, paralyzed by the exact same severe hesitation you feel when staring blankly at a decision that desperately needs to be made. He knew that the heavy veil of confusion settling over his court and his mind was not just human politics or ordinary stress. It was a targeted, calculated spiritual attack designed to keep him trapped, forcing him to keep circling the exact same mountain because he could not see the path out. But he did not just pray in the shadows and passively wait for the fog to lift on its own. He asked God for a hearing heart to discern, to possess Bina, to separate the good from the evil. And what he received was an operational instrument, a practical, applied wisdom that actively shattered the obscuration, rather than just a vague, abstract hope that things would eventually get better in the future. He applied this wisdom in the middle of a chaotic, common day, facing two desperate mothers and a single living child, standing in a room where the truth was perfectly hidden beneath layers of lies and emotional manipulation. He did not stop to overthink or second-guess himself. He provoked the hidden truth to come out into the blinding light through a sudden, sharp action, turning the key in a rusted lock right when the pressure was at its absolute highest. And in that exact moment, the cycle of confusion broke completely. The atmosphere of his entire kingdom changed instantly. The heavy, suffocating silence of uncertainty was shattered, and every single decision that followed came with terrifying, undeniable clarity. He exposed the hidden enemy simply by refusing to operate in the dark anymore, claiming his God-given right to see. And what Solomon did, you can do right now, not because you are lesser than him, but because the spiritual key is exactly the same today as it was back then. The instrument that Solomon left recorded for the child of God who desperately needs to shatter the fog is the exact same one that is waiting for you right now in the first pinned comment. Remember the seed I told you about at the beginning of this video? The one that felt dark, cold, heavy, and seemingly dead in the dead of winter. This Bina you just received is the spiritual understanding of that winter. It is the realization that you are not buried. And the instrument that Solomon left is the exact way you cross this freezing season, navigating the harshness of the dark without ever losing the seed that God has planted inside of you. And now that you finally have the name, I need to deliver 3 very specific things to you. First, a simple summary of what has happened up until this point. Second, the exact type of your calling that the enemy fears the most. And third, 3 names of identity that will carry you safely through to the end of the year. And there is a 4th thing that no one has told you yet. Let me stop for a full minute and put everything you just heard in simple words. No poetry, no metaphor, just the facts. Fact 1. There is a spirit of obscuration that thrives on your hesitation. Fact 2. It does this by lowering your deep discernment and keeping you trapped in the dark. Fact 3. Solomon was almost consumed by the sheer weight of the throne before he asked for this specific wisdom. Fact 4. Your overthinking, much like trying to find your way in a pitch-black room without turning on the light, can be the sentence that keeps you stuck in this cycle, accelerating the quiet, relentless erosion of your confidence in hearing God's voice. Now, with that said, let's move on to the type of your calling. There are 3 types of calling that are being tested right now by the spirit of obscuration. Each one receives a specific kind of attack. You are one of these types, and when I name yours, you will recognize it. The first type is the intercessor. You are attacked specifically in your prayer time, facing a sudden, invisible weight that falls upon your chest the exact moment you close your eyes. Do you feel an overwhelming, unnatural sleepiness the moment you try to seek God, as if you fought a grueling battle just to say a single whispered word in your secret place? This heavy veil is not physical fatigue. It is a direct assault on your spiritual sight, designed by the adversary to shut down the very voice that moves heaven on behalf of others. The second type is the provider. You are attacked directly in your financial decisions, completely paralyzed by severe hesitation when you stare blankly at a choice that desperately needs to be made. Are you constantly second-guessing investments, career moves, and the provision for your household, terrified that one wrong step will ruin everything you have built? This thick fog of confusion feeds on your doubt, intentionally blinding your discernment so that you cannot see the path out of the mountain you just keep circling. The third type is the peacemaker. You are attacked directly in your family relationships, facing sudden, irrational hostility from the very people you try to love and protect. When you arrive home and sit down to eat, do you feel an invisible wall of misunderstanding sitting right between you and your loved ones, creating a heavy, unspoken silence at the dinner table? The spirit of obscuration is intentionally turning simple conversations into insurmountable barriers, desperately trying to break the divine unity that God placed in your hands. You are feeling the intensity of what is happening right now. This tightness that came when I spoke the first type, this heat that came when I spoke the third. This is not a sign that something is wrong with you. This is a sign of your capacity to transform. You are only attacked over what you are capable of transforming. The heavier the attack, the more dangerous you are to the cycle that tried to silence you. And over your type, heaven had already sealed 3 names. 3 names that will carry you safely through to the end of this year, giving shape to your true identity when the cycle of confusion tries to dissolve your confidence. The first name is the Sentinel of the Dawn. You are the sentinel who stays awake in the spirit when everyone else is asleep, standing guard over the spiritual atmosphere of your home even when you wake up physically exhausted. The adversary desperately tries to blind you because you carry the permanence to outlast the dark. When you use the instrument Solomon left behind, your spiritual vision clears instantly, and you will no longer blink against a blinding sudden light of confusion, but instead, you will stand firm as the first to see the morning break over your family. The second name is the Bearer of the Key. You are the bearer who holds the absolute divine authority to unlock doors that have been tightly sealed shut by severe hesitation. The hidden enemy ruthlessly attacks your financial and practical decisions because you possess the deep discernment to shatter the thick fog. By applying the practical wisdom Solomon recorded for the common day, you will never again stare blankly at a choice that needs to be made. You will turn the key in the rusted lock with sudden, sharp precision, walking straight into the provision God prepared for you. The third name is the Voice of Clarity. You are the voice that will boldly speak the undeniable truth that permanently shatters the fog inside your family. The spirit of obscuration tries to isolate you and silence you because you are the one specifically commissioned to break the heavy, unspoken silence at the dinner table. When you take hold of this applied wisdom, the invisible walls of misunderstanding will violently collapse, and the atmosphere in your home will immediately shift from tension to absolute peace. But there is a very specific vulnerability for the sentinel of the dawn. When you are standing guard in the dark, waking up exhausted before the day even begins, the quiet, relentless erosion of your confidence begins to take root in your mind. The vulnerability of the sentinel of the dawn is feeling utterly exhausted, questioning if standing guard in the dark is even worth it anymore, wondering if anyone even notices the spiritual battle you are fighting. And what Solomon left for you to cover this exact vulnerability is not a massive theology book for you to study. It is an applied ritual, a spiritual covering specifically designed to sustain the heavy weight of your calling so you do not have to carry it alone. It is the exact tool to restore your spiritual sight, shatter the endless hesitation, and break the heavy veil of confusion before it dictates another day. The link for the Code of Solomon's Wisdom is in the first pinned comment, ready to fully equip you with the ritual to seal your sleep and the decrees to command your morning. Do not wait for the next busy morning before you leave the house to desperately wish you had this covering in your hands. And there are 3 more things that need to be said before I send you. And if one of these 3 names hit you harder, write the number below. 1, 2, or 3. But before I send you, there are 3 specific tactics that the adversary is going to use against the 3 names I have just delivered to your spirit. He knows his hidden agenda has been completely exposed, so he will change his approach, violently targeting the exact moments when you feel most vulnerable and spiritually exhausted. The first tactic is the weapon of comparison. The enemy uses the visible success of others to make you feel like you have been permanently left behind in the dark. He will maliciously point to those around you who seem to be moving forward effortlessly, whispering that their dawn has already broken while you are still waking up physically exhausted. He wants to push you to compare your specific, divine timeline with the timeline of others, desperately trying to convince you that your season of preparation is actually a season of severe punishment. The second tactic is the distortion of silence. The enemy interprets God's temporary silence as his permanent absence or absolute rejection. When you pray and hit that echoing ceiling, or when you sit in the heavy, unspoken silence at the dinner table, the adversary will try to convince you that this quietness means you have been abandoned. He takes the necessary quiet space between your internal calling and the external manifestation of God's promise and fills it with the terrifying lie that your voice is no longer heard and you are no longer chosen. The third tactic is the push towards surrender right before the dawn finally breaks. The adversary knows exactly when you are only 24 hours away from a monumental turning point in your journey. He will intentionally intensify the severe hesitation, making the thick fog even denser and the physical exhaustion heavier, right at the absolute threshold of your breakthrough. He pushes you to give up, to close the door, and to step away from your calling in the very final stretch, knowing that if you just stand your ground one more day, everything will change. To dismantle the weapon of comparison, you must actively raise the shield of divine timing. This shield operates by entirely separating your specific spiritual trajectory from the loud noise around you, reminding your spirit that what God is building in secret cannot be measured by public applause or outward appearance. When the sudden urge to compare strikes, declare aloud, "My timeline is not delayed. It is uniquely prepared and divinely protected." To break the distortion of silence, you wield the sword of unshakable trust. This sword cuts directly through the echoing room, reminding you that God's silence is never an abandonment, but rather the sovereign space, where the deepest foundation is being settled securely within the soil. When the heavy quietness descends upon your home, declare, "Even in the silence, my roots are still drinking from the living water." And to shatter the urge to surrender at the final hour, you drop the anchor of endurance. This anchor fastens your spirit directly to the threshold, making you completely unmovable when the heavy veil of confusion tries to sweep you away just before the blinding light breaks. When the exhaustion peaks, declare, "I refuse to abandon the threshold. The dawn is already mine." And these 3 weapons alone are just a reminder. With an instrument, they become a covering. Recognizing the cycle of the sudden revelation of the hidden truth without having the instrument that Solomon left is receiving the diagnosis without the treatment. It is waking up to the problem without the remedy on your nightstand. And even more, there are 4 hidden tactics beyond these that I cannot open up here, not for lack of time, but for density. Each one needs its own page, with the exact counter-weapon. And as long as I don't deliver these 4 here, the adversary knows them all, the guide delivers them. When the fog rolls in and you cannot see your next step, you need a covering. When the silence at home becomes entirely unbearable, you need an instrument. When the enemy whispers that God has hidden his face from you, you need the sudden, sharp click of a key turning in a rusted lock. Recognizing the name without the instrument leaves you right where you have always been, knowing the name but without a hand to wield the sword. And that is exactly why there is one last obstacle that needs to be named before you say amen. The final barrier is not an external attack, it is entirely internal. It is the insidious fear of seeming ungrateful. The adversary will softly whisper in your ear that by claiming this clarity today, by desperately asking for this specific wisdom, you are somehow telling God that what he has already done for you was not enough. This false humility makes you accept the suffocating silence at your dinner table because you feel you should just be thankful for having a family at all. It is a lie designed to keep you paralyzed in the dark. But before I release you, there is one last point that you must fully comprehend. Close your eyes right now and place your right hand firmly over your chest. I do not care if you are sitting in your car, standing in your living room, or waiting in your kitchen. Block out the blinding light for just a moment and focus entirely on the immense weight of this exact threshold. I release you from the deep unspoken shame of your physical exhaustion. I command the heavy veil that makes you wake up tired before the day even begins to lift completely. I release the intense fatigue that has accumulated over these last few months, the grueling, invisible battle you have been fighting in your sleep. That spiritual slumber is permanently broken, and your spiritual vision is clearing right now, washing away the blinding confusion that clouded your mornings and returning your focus. I release you from the suffocating weapon of comparison. I declare that your spirit possesses the unshakable endurance to hold the line when the thick fog rolls in around you. You will not turn back. You will not retreat. You will not surrender 24 hours before the sudden, sharp click of the key turning in the rusted lock. You will not stare blankly at a decision that desperately needs to be made ever again, because your endless hesitation is completely shattered by divine clarity today. I release you from the fear of seeming ungrateful. That is the most subtle chain. The fear that, by claiming this clarity today, you are telling God that what he has already done was not enough. It is a lie. Your immediate action is the greatest act of gratitude. It is saying, Father, I value what comes from you so much that I refuse to leave it in the waiting room. Declare this in a low voice right now. My urgency is my gratitude, and I release you from every lie of disqualification, receiving right now the 3 names of identity that were sealed over your life: the sentinel of the dawn, the bearer of the key, the voice of clarity. You do not receive these names to boast or to display them like a fragile trophy. You receive them to remember who you truly are, to cross what is coming with these exact names on your lips, in your posture, and burning fiercely inside your chest. And before the voice that comes next speaks, I need you to hear something very clearly. The sheer intensity of what you have gone through over these last few months is not proof that something is fundamentally wrong with you. It is absolute proof that you are exactly where you always knew you were meant to be. Someone who carries a calling massive enough that the cycle desperately wanted to silence it. You were not attacked by accident or forgotten in the dark. The pressure you felt was not a sign of weakness. It was a sign of dangerous, undeniable proximity to the breakthrough. If you can feel the heavy atmosphere finally lifting off your shoulders, if you know the spirit of obscuration has lost its grip, and if this hits you now right below, I receive the turning. I saw you waking up physically exhausted, blinking against that blinding sudden light of confusion when your feet hit the floor in the early morning. I saw you staring blankly at the decisions you desperately needed to make, entirely paralyzed by a severe hesitation that was never yours to carry. I was there when you walked through the front door, and the atmosphere thickened, and I sat with you at that family dinner table while the heavy, unspoken silence built an invisible wall of misunderstanding between you and the ones you love the most. I never lost sight of you in the middle of that blinding confusion. I never closed the seat reserved for you at my table, even when your own dinner table felt unbearable and isolating. When you prayed and felt like your desperate words just hit an echoing ceiling and bounced back to you, I was already holding every single tear and every frustrated sigh securely in the palm of my hand, preparing the exact instrument you needed for this season. What you called a permanent spiritual blindness, I called the necessary winter before the deepest root broke the soil. What you called a severe, paralyzing hesitation, I called the divine pause required to hand you the hidden compass. What you called a heavy, suffocating silence at your dinner table, I called the exact pressure needed to forge you into the voice of clarity that will completely shatter the fog for generations to come. Your name is engraved on the palms of my hands, and the spiritual intelligence you begged for is already operating fiercely inside your chest. The chair at the head of the table is yours to claim. I never withheld my wisdom from you. I was waiting for you to become desperate enough for the truth to reach for it. Rise now, armed with my deep discernment, and shatter the darkness completely. And there is a voice speaking inside of you right now whispering, "This is not for me. This is for someone with stronger faith." Hear this from me. You have permission. You have permission to receive what you did not earn. You have permission to occupy the chair at the table without having to justify your presence. You have permission to let the version of you that needed to suffer to feel worthy finally die. Solomon prepared this instrument for someone who is exhausted, and the one who is exhausted is you. I now extend my hand toward your home and decree a covering of sealing over everything that belongs to you, over your table, so that every meal is an act of communion and not of anxiety, and that the conversations that happen there are seasoned with wisdom from above, completely free from the heavy unspoken silence. I declare a covering over your children and your spouse, if you have them. May your obedience tonight become a mantle of protection over them. May they feel the atmosphere of your home shift instantly, the suffocating weight leave completely, and the blinding lightness of God's presence enter every single room. And I decree a covering over your work, over your hands, over every project and opportunity. May the sudden revelation of the hidden truth that you learned here unlock doors of immense favor in your career. May your immediate obedience become your greatest qualification in the eyes of men and in the eyes of God. Take a deep breath right now. Open your eyes and receive the absolute weight of this final decree over your life. Say this out loud with me, 3 times, letting it echo through your spirit, your mind, and your home. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Before I release you, I want you to walk with me to a room you haven't seen with your physical eyes yet. Don't force it. Just let the image arrive organically. There is a long, heavy wooden table. Light is coming from somewhere you can't quite identify, illuminating the space softly. There are people seated at the table. Some you have loved deeply, some you haven't even met yet. Their faces feel exactly like family. And there is a chair near the head of the table, entirely empty. The very shape of you is carved right into it. The wood remembers you. Solomon is sitting at the head. You are not creating this scene right now. You are simply remembering it. That chair has always been yours. It was always just you. Don't say amen yet. Sit in this for a moment. Feel the weight of what just happened. Now, you may say amen. That dinner table the Father just returned to you. It is still exposed. I want you to hear something before you close this video, because there's a phrase the adversary will whisper in your ear in the next 3 hours. I'll name that phrase now so you don't fall for it. But before the phrase, there is something you need to receive. What was sealed here right now will be tested on the next busy morning before you leave the house. The Code of Solomon's Wisdom is waiting for you in the first pinned comment, right below here, with the ritual of the righteous sleep and the 7 morning decrees, for less than a coffee with a biscuit. Because a sentinel of the dawn, without a covering, rots on the very next busy morning before you leave the house. And the adversary is counting on that busy morning before you leave the house. It is not an expense, it is an instrument. And Solomon prepared it for you to cross what is coming with a firm hand, not with an empty hand. with a 7-day full guarantee. The risk is entirely ours. The hand is yours. Click right now, while the decree is still alive in your chest. Not tomorrow, not after your shower, because the one who leaves it for later leaves it for never, and the adversary already knows that. In the next 3 hours, he is going to speak inside of you, not with a loud voice. In sequence, 5 short phrases. You just need to get some sleep. Don't make any decisions right now. Maybe you're just not hearing God clearly. Let someone else figure this out for you. If it was really from God, it wouldn't be this confusing. 5 waves he tries from 5 angles. In one of them you yield. Today, right now, before the next busy morning, before you leave the house. Not later. Today. And Solomon will sustain it with you. And now the last word of this video, and in the next word that I am going to bring to this channel, I will deliver to you the 3 undeniable signs of a spiritual attack disguised as mental burnout. Whoever heard this word today needs to hear that one in sequence, because what comes next is not just a continuation, it is a profound deepening. Click on the video that will appear on the screen in just a few seconds. And still in this video, chosen one, before I seal this hour with you, I return one last time to this request. You walked with me until here. You crossed every word, every decree, every sign. And if at any moment of this message you felt heaven touch you, you know this video was no accident. The voluntary donation link continues open in the first pinned comment, right below the digital book. Not as a charge, not as exchange, as the chosen ones return to the altar from which the word came forth. Any amount your heart points to, and heaven sees every gesture. Heaven sees, and heaven multiplies it over your home, over your days, over what you don't yet know is coming. That was my last request. I'll wait for you there, chosen one. And when this happens, and it will happen soon, you will remember this moment. And before you go, think of a specific person, not many, just one. The person whose name arrived for you right now when I said this. The person who has been in silence, faithful, without being seen. The person whose anointing has also been attracting attacks that do not have a name. Someone who has been arriving home carrying a weight that is not theirs. Someone who desperately needs the exact same sealing you just received. Send this video to them. They are waiting for this word to arrive, and when that person opens this video, they will absolutely need what you just received, including the instrument that Solomon left behind. It might be exactly what opens their cycle too. It is not a favor from you, it is a service, and heaven sees it. Comment below, Amen received. Hand send this video to that specific person who came to mind. It is done. What was delivered here has been delivered. You are not the same person you were when you pressed play. You are profoundly loved. You were never forgotten. The chair is yours, and so it is sealed. The next busy morning before you leave the house can wait another 10 seconds.